What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Rangers Talk. Already the fourth episode. I'm here with Nick, as always, and Nico. We don't know where he is right now, if we're being honest. So, yeah, just us again for this episode. We got a lot to discuss, but before, you know what we got to talk about? We got to talk about balls because this is brought to you by Manscaped. As always, our friends. They're the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with the exclusive offer, 20% off and free shipping with code Python at manscaped.com. And if my math is correct, that is 12 million balls they're helping out right there. So go check them out. Link is in the description. And also check out TikTok if you want to get yourself to a game, get yourself to a concert. Link is in the description for that. But Nick, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. Just living life, waiting for some more Ranger news, but we haven't gotten a lot. So,
we haven't gotten some Ranger news, but we've gotten some big NHL news, which we'll start talking there. What the fuck was the Matthew Tkachuk trade even? What even was that? So, in case you've been living under a rock and you don't know, Matthew Tkachuk was traded to the Florida Panthers, and he was signed for $9.5 million, the first ever sign and trade in NHL history. He was traded to the Panthers for Mackenzie Weegar, Cole Schwint, a first-round pick, and some guy named Jonathan Huberdeau that you may have heard of. But this offseason's drunk. I still don't even know what to think of this trade right now.
Yeah, no. When I saw the trade, my initial reaction was, "What the hell is what's his name? Bill Zito."
Yeah.
The GM, of the Panthers. I was like, "What is he doing? Like, he's nuts." But then, I was doing a little bit more research, and I saw that Huberdeau had like 1 year left, and so did Mackenzie. Is that Mackenzie Weegar? Right?
Yeah.
Or yeah. I think he has a year left as well, something like that. But regardless, all I saw is that they had expiring contracts and that they weren't going to re-sign. So I guess his mindset was, let's just trade them away and get something out of those two instead of just, making a run or trying to make a run with them and, them leaving right after. And, I don't know if they would have been, winning the Stanley Cup or would have been a favorite to necessarily, considering they, lost in the second round and got manhandled in the second round too by the Lightning. So I think Zito's decision was more future based. You're getting a guy in Matthew Tkachuk who, who could still develop. He's really young, and I'm pretty sure he's already locked up for 8 years. I don't know what the money is looking like, but
9.5.
Yeah, 9.5. So, it was a deal that you knew who you were getting in return as a player, and you knew how many years he had left. So that the whole thing was safe, and with the signing and all that, and getting rid of Huberdeau and Weegar clears up a little cap for the moment to get Tkachuk, and who knows, maybe they get another big piece at the deadline, which could help them make another run, and hopefully for their sake a deeper run. So if he plans on doing that, maybe the trade won't look as bad. But I mean, personally, again, my initial reaction, I was shocked. I was like, what are they doing? And they gave up a 2025 first. So I guess the reason they gave up that first rounder was probably because they expect to be,
No, the reason they gave that up is literally just because of the fact they don't have their first round pick this year or next year. That's the only reason it's 2025, the pick. Or were you going to make a different point?
I was going to make a different point. I was going to say, maybe now that you mentioned that, it makes sense. But no, well, I guess they also didn't have a problem with giving it up because they probably thought that by then they should probably, Tkachuk will, be a little older, and hopefully the team around him is a little bit better, and that they'll be in the mix for a Stanley Cup. So it wouldn't matter even if they had it, because it'd be like, a late first round draft pick. But now looking at it after doing my research and all that, I guess the deal, I see what he's trying to, what Zito's trying to do. He's just trying to, get something out of Huberdeau and Uyghur, knowing that they're not going to re-sign. Um, I mean, right now, if you're, if you're trying to make a run right now, like, or just to be one of the top teams, in the East, I don't know if you'll have as successful as a regular season as you did last year, especially with Paul Maurice as the coach. And I don't know how he would turn out to be in Florida. So from that standpoint, it's kind of like shaky, the deal. But if you're looking to make a deal at the deadline, I think the deal would have been um, a good deal after, looking at it after the deadline goes away, so if they make a move. But if you don't, then I still don't know what to think about it. But
the thing that's odd to me is we saw a report come out today that Huberdeau is waiting for Florida to contact them and offer an extension, and for whatever reason they didn't. So at first it made sense to me that, okay, Huberdeau probably didn't want to stay, Uyghur probably didn't want to stay.
That's what I heard.
You go and get Tkachuk. But then you have Huberdeau, who's now pissed off that Florida traded him the way that they did, and they didn't even warn him, and he was waiting for an offer. And for my money, he's the best winger in hockey. And I know you get Tkachuk, who is younger by not just a couple years. He is significantly younger. But to just trade Jonathan Huberdeau like that, it's still odd to me, and not even put an extension on the table. I really wonder if this was a panic move, because
it probably was
because of the fact that they got swept by Tampa and they're like, okay, we need a major shakeup, or is this just a Vegas type move where it's shiny new toy on the market, let's go get it? Because I just don't understand.
It probably was a panic move after what happened against Tampa Bay. But I mean, I don't know if you would agree with this, but if I was Zito, I would have waited till the deadline, just see how the regular season pans out and all that, and maybe it'll allow me and Huberdeau, if I was the GM, like I said, it would allow me and Huberdeau and Uyghur to negotiate an extension a little bit more. But I guess he just didn't want to wait, or I don't know we don't know what Calgary said. They probably said it's now or never with Tkachuk. So they just figured, why not? We'll just make the trade now instead of waiting till later and see what happens. But I mean, if you want to build the team around Tkachuk, I think that's a good idea. But I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. I think there's a lot of good and like pros and cons to this deal, in my opinion. I could see it both sides.
The problem I have with them throwing Uyghur in this deal is Aaron Ekblad is never healthy. Let's see. I'm going to look the last time this guy played a full 82 game season. Yeah, the 2018-19 season was the last time. Other than that, he is always injured, and Mackenzie Uyghur has to step up, and now you lost your second best defenseman.
I mean, like I said, if they plan on making more moves down the line, then I could see why they made this deal. But I mean, I don't know why at the same time, like I could see why you did it, but I can't see why you did it, if that makes sense.
Well,
like
Florida has to have another move up their sleeve here.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't make a move like this if you're not, if you don't make a move like this, if you're not gonna do anything down the line.
From Florida's perspective, to keep it there, they're 3.3 million over the cap. They'll be a little over the cap still once they put Duclair on LTIR. He tore his Achilles, so he's not playing this season. And they're still going to need the clear cap. And my guess is they're going to try to clear a guy like Patrick Hornquist and then sign Klingberg if they can. If they could do that, I feel like that would make this trade look a lot better because then you're essentially getting Klingberg and Kachuk for Uyghur, Huberdeau, and then that first and the prospect there. I feel like that would make it look better if they could pull that off because right now their defense, you have Ekblad, Montour, Forsling, Gudis, Carlson, and Mark Stahl.
Yeah. And honestly, they may honestly just be doing a mini retool on the fly here. They realized they saw what happened against Tampa Bay. You got swept. And the round before that, an old Washington Capitals team took you to 6 games. You know what I mean? And then you get swept by Tampa Bay. And then they see a young team like the Rangers who got eliminated by the Lightning, in 6 games in the conference final. I guess they think that the team that they have now isn't good enough to get the job done because ultimately any team wants, that's joins a franchise or any GM, that joins a franchise, their ultimate goal is to win a Stanley Cup with that team. So Zito probably looked at the team and said, probably isn't the team or I don't see some of these guys winning a Stanley Cup with us. So probably just going to retool a little bit, bring in Kachuk and maybe build a good supporting cast around Kachuk with some, hopefully he has some chemistry with them and things work out and that, they can make a deeper run, whether it's next season or the season after. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if the Panthers, either just make the wild card, you know what I mean? Or God forbid if miss the playoffs, but I'm not going to make any predictions right now, but I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me if it came to that, but I expect, I would expect, some retooling, along this upcoming season and going into the deadline, especially.
Well, yeah, it has to be that because I mean, you look at even what Tampa did after they won the President's Trophy, there was a lot of changes there. And I guess that they're looking at that in a similar way. And I feel like this is kind of, hey, we're not the Leafs. So we're not messing around here. If we're not getting where we want to, we're going to make changes. We're not going to just run it back with the same thing over and over again
and expect a different expect a different result. You have to, it's trial and error. You have to change. If something doesn't work, you have to change something else up. Whether it's the offense, defense, the goalie, whatever, or the coach, whatever it is, you have to keep trying different things until you find that perfect recipe to success for your team, and then you take off. But you just have to keep trying other things, and I guess that's what they're doing right now. So we'll see what happens.
Another move in the works. I really wonder if Sergey Bobrovsky could be moved there. But
I didn't hear anything personally about Bobrovsky.
I know that they were trying to move him earlier in the offseason, but I don't know what the incentive is for him to waive his no-move clause.
Well, for Spencer Knight to take over, probably, right?
Well, yeah, but what's the incentive for Bobrovsky is what I mean, to waive his no-move clause and leave Florida where there's no state income tax. There's already a great team there to play with. I don't know what the incentive is.
Yeah, me either. How many? I mean, he signed like a massive deal, like 10 years, right?
In 2019, 7 years and 10 million per.
Yeah, that's 10 million. Yeah, so
yeah, when they tried to get both Panarin and Bobrovsky.
Yeah, to play with Quenneville. It would have been interesting if Panarin went to the Panthers and then Quenneville leaving, because after what happened, I wonder if Panarin would have just, dipped or whatever. I don't know.
I mean, there could have been a world where, they could have had Panarin, Barkov, and Huberdeau. If they didn't have Bobrovsky, they could have Huberdeau probably with Tkachuk and Barkov right now.
Yeah, that's true. And who knows? Maybe they take, Tampa's 7 games or possibly beat them. I don't know. Who knows?
But I think that they're going to be still dominant. And now, from Calgary's perspective, this is interesting. So I don't know what to make out of them because you lose Johnny Gaudreau. You obviously get your replacement there in Jonathan Huberdeau, who, in my opinion, is the better player. But you lose some goal scoring, but you upgrade your defense. But now there's apparently talks that they might flip Huberdeau just because he won't re-sign there, and they might try to get some assets. If I were them, if there's no extension in place by the deadline, you got to do that. You can't do what you just did now with Johnny Gaudreau. You can't do this all over again. I think that's what they got to do.
The Flames you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if the season doesn't go as planned, then for sure you're gonna make a deal at the deadline with a team to send
they're in such a
Huberdeau.
tough position though, because with Daryl Sutter as the coach, I can't count them out of a playoff spot right now with this roster. After Johnny Gaudreau and Tkachuk left, well, when Tkachuk was leaving for what I thought would be prospects and picks, but now that you got what you got, with Daryl Sutter behind the bench, you're still in contention. I just find it's going to be so weird that the Flames could be in a spot at the deadline where they're in a playoff spot, but still sell because Jonathan Huberdeau doesn't want to be here long term.
I mean, if the regular season is going super well for you, I mean, don't sell. I mean, you never know what happens in the playoffs with that team. I just buy, and whatever happens, and then you just have to worry about the next season when that comes, so.
And just the problem is, what if then you lose Jonathan Huberdeau for nothing? What if you lose Mackenzie Weegar for nothing?
Well, that's the risk you take. That's kind of like what Columbus did in 2019. By acquiring Matt Duchene and knowing that Panarin wanted to get out of Columbus and go to the Rangers, and Bobrovsky wanting out. They felt that if they just added on, they could have made a really deep run to the Cup or possibly win it. And so they took that chance and acquiring Duchene and I think like one other piece earlier on, and it didn't work out, and they wound up losing Brad, Bob, Duchene, right?
But they haven't been competitive since, and also
right. But
I need an example of when this worked. Where I can't think of a time where in the NHL a team has done this sort of aggressive move
I guess
type thing.
I guess Los Angeles in 2014, right? Because they acquired Marian Gaborik around the deadline, and
but that's a deadline move. Like, I'm talking a scenario where you have your star player who just left, which Panarin's kind of comparable, where he was going to it was guaranteed he was leaving the year after.
Mm-hmm.
And you go out and make a big trade for pretty much a rental guy. I just don't know, because if he walks for nothing, and that makes the Tkachuk trade look really bad on your end. And
yeah, but again, that's just, you have to play by ear. You have to see how the regular season goes. If you're just in the mix for a wild card spot, honestly, I would just sell, because there's no problem. I mean, anything, like I said, anything could happen in the playoffs. The Nashville Predators in 2017 were a wild card team, and they made it all the way to the final, to 6 games against Pittsburgh, the defending Stanley Cup champions at the time. So, I mean, anything could, definitely happen. But do you want to really take that risk, or you want to play it safe, get some assets, and then for the future, be a better team and be a better team, be more promising team, and your chances of winning a Stanley Cup significantly increase 3 years down the road if you trade away Huberdeau to get some guys in. That's just a thing, that's just something you would have to think about, or you take the chance and have a little setback for a couple of years and just start to get back into it in year 3 or 4, like kind of like with Columbus. I know they made like the playoffs in the bubble, but we didn't expect anything out of them. So, and sure enough, they lost. They won in the qualifying round, but I'm pretty sure they lost in round 1 in Tampa Bay. So,
but
yeah.
keep Columbus as an example. Like, You look at what they got for Seth Jones. Imagine what Calgary could get here for Jonathan Huberdeau. I think that it's just so tough because Daryl Sutter is such a great coach, and it's like, how do you have guys like that? You still have Noah Hannafin, you still have Rasmus Anderson, Chris Tanev, now you have Mackenzie Weegar. It's just, how do you decide whether you flip Huberdeau before the year because he doesn't want an extension, or you just go balls to the wall, try to win a cup this year?
Yeah.
Where if you do it, great. If you don't, you look stupid.
Right. I mean, just knowing the teams that Daryl Sutter has had in the past with LA, they were built on size and strength. So I mean, if you want to go to the deadline, just get a few guys to just buff up your lineup and to get a real Daryl Sutter playoff hockey team, which is scary. If you want to do that, I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, well, he won 2 cups with it. So, I mean, it's got to be promising. So, I mean,
who's out there, you traded that one
right.
guy that's like that type.
Well, yeah, exactly. But I mean, if you're able to find some potential deals, go ahead, do it. I mean, try and hunt,
This is why Jonathan Huberdeau is a New York Ranger. By the trade deadline market.
No, but on seriously though, like, yeah, I mean, if there's potential deals that you could get some guys that have size and strength, go, do it. If not, then you could try to win with the team you have, but which is the way I know, like, how Daryl Sutter likes his teams and how his style of play, plays in the playoffs. I don't know if the team Calgary has now would, you see what you know where I'm getting at, right?
It just, my problem is that this team is just not built. Like, the forward group is very weak still. I mean, you have Huberdeau now, and you have Elias Lindholm on a sweetheart deal, and then outside of that, your second highest paid players behind Jonathan Huberdeau, Mikhail Backlund and Milan Lucic. You have Blake Coleman, Tyler Toffoli, Dylan Dubé, Kevin Rooney, Trevor Lewis, Andrew Mangiapane, and then Sean Monahan on an absurd deal. That forward group doesn't scream a winner to me, and you still have to sign Mangiapane. You have $9.3 million in cap space left. Where do you get another forward? I mean, and then I'd say Nazem Kadri is an option, but he didn't want to waive his no trade clause from Toronto to go there because Toronto was going to trade him there to get TJ Brody before they made that deal where they got Barry and Kerfoot. So I don't know what you do if you're Calgary.
You have to talk to, other teams, see what potential opportunities there are, and and based off of that, you make a decision about what you want to do with your team. Do you want to sell a little bit, or you want to buy some size, strength, and build a complete Daryl Sutter hockey team that would be a juggernaut in the playoffs, and see what happens.
I mean, they could flip someone on the back end, but do they have pieces in the pipeline to help them get that type of impact player? Of course, outside of Long Island native Matthew Coronado, do they have anyone else in the pipeline? I mean, Connor Zary, now Cole Schwitt. I just don't know how they're going to be able to make a deal like that.
Yeah, I don't know. And obviously they're not willing to give up, some of the recent draft picks that they drafted, because I don't even think their pipeline is really strong to begin with. So they want to keep adding, young guys so they can, have a good team, obviously, in the future. But yeah, I don't know. They're in a tough position for sure. I mean, I could see there's reasons to sell and there's reasons to buy, but I feel like there's more reasons to sell than buy. I mean, the only reason I say you buy if you want is because you have Daryl Sutter as your coach. So if you want to get some, like I said, because that's how he won with the Los Angeles Kings, just size, strength, and grit, and playing with the style Sutter plays in the playoffs is going to wear other teams down. Kind of like what they did with LA. They were just a team that just grinded away. If you want to do that, go ahead. But if Daryl Sutter wasn't the coach, I would say I'd be 100% on board with selling. But the fact that you have Sutter and you're just, going to sell with him as the coach, it's like, I don't know. But it's not like he's never missed the playoffs before. Like, he's missed the playoffs before, especially with Los Angeles, obviously. But, just I guess you just kind of have to see how the regular season plays out, like the first 2-3 months, and see what you want to do.
It just, you look at the division too. I just don't know still, even after this move, how Calgary finishes above some of these teams. Is Calgary better than Edmonton? I'd say no.
No.
Are they better than LA? I'd say no.
Yeah, probably not.
Are they better than Vancouver? I'd say no. Until we see what happens with JT Miller, because there's still that to happen. Are they better than the Vegas Golden Knights? I say no. And then
wait. Who's their coach now? Bruce Cassidy?
Yes.
You also have to, Bruce Cassidy is a good coach, but you also have to keep in mind he did change. I don't know if he's going to go back to his other style, but he did change his style a little bit with the Bruins. So, you kind of have to take into that consideration.
I just like their roster too much for them to miss the playoffs again. And then you look at the Central Division. Are they going to be able to make a wild card spot with St. Louis? I'd say no. Minnesota, no. Colorado, definitely not. Dallas, debatable. Nashville, debatable. But it's tough for me to see them getting in.
I could see them making the playoffs, or making a run at the playoff spot. But I mean, they had a good regular season this past year, so I mean, I don't see why not. They don't make it this year. But even though their forward group may look a little weak, but you don't know what they do in practice. You don't know what Sutter, how he'll change his system, if he is going to, or because the coaches adjust their system to what how their team is built, and who's on the roster. So, if their team, is lacking offense, they'll try to even it out with, playing a more conservative style. But if they have a good offense, like a top 5, top 10 offense, then they'll try to play more up-tempo hockey and be, more offensive scoring team and to try to fill the net up. But, I mean, we'll see. I mean, if you ask me now, I'd say Calgary probably would be in the playoffs, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know how the season will go. There's teams that we thought would be a top team in, in their own division or conference or league, and they just wound up, missing the playoffs, such as like the Islanders, even though we're Ranger fans and we hope to see their downfall. But, they had a couple, I guess you want to say fluky runs or whatever you want to call it. It's completely up to you. And then everyone thought they would be, first in the Metro, and they wound up missing the playoffs. So you never know, but I still see Calgary as a playoff team.
I'm looking at the depth charts though, and man, they're either gonna have to make another move, or Daryl Sutter's gonna have to try to squeeze every ounce out of this team. Right now, the first line's listed as Huberdeau, Lindholm, Toffoli. Second line, Mangiapane, Backlund, Coleman. Third line, Lucic, Rooney, Dubé. And then fourth line, Ruzicka, and Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, they could still add pieces,
They're going to have to, because
if they want to win,
not a good bottom six.
No, yeah, definitely. But
Kevin Rooney's playing on your third line. We could attest that that is not ideal.
Yeah, for sure. Not at all. But, you know, you never know. If they may make some deals, and I'm sure if they can't make, many deals by the deadline, then I guess the rest is history. They'll probably just sell, but we'll see what happens. Because, like, personally, like, I'm not going to, like, if I was a GM, like, I'm not going to go all out for my team and buy a bunch of players and try to win a cup if I don't even have the confidence in my team before any deadline moves to potentially make a Stanley Cup push. Like, I feel like the point of the deadline and, like, buying, usually is like, okay, the team I have now pre-deadline, do I think this team has the potential to, really make a push at the Stanley Cup? Like, realistically, like, can this team make the Stanley Cup final? You have to ask yourself that first, or at least make the conference round. Can this team? If yes, then you would go to the deadline, buy some pieces, put them, to get them over the top. But if you see a team and you think, I think they can probably just only win around maybe two, then, maybe you're more a conservative buyer, or you sell just one or two pieces to get something in return and retool a little bit. But, that's something they'll have to ask themselves and see what they think, and we'll see what they do when that day
A big
comes.
move could still be in the works, considering there is still a absurd amount of teams right now over the cap. Right now, you have Tampa, who's over the cap. You have Washington, Florida, Vancouver, Toronto, Vegas, Columbus, Pittsburgh, and Philly somehow. But Tampa could maybe be a dance partner there for a trade. Maybe Alex Killorn.
To the Flames?
That could be a thing.
I would like to see that. That'd be cool.
That
I think that'd be a
definitely
great
be a thing.
addition. That'd be a great addition.
Because I don't know how else Tampa gets under the cap unless someone's shoulders feeling a bit hurt going into opening night.
Yeah, for real.
There are a couple teams here that they can make a trade with. So there are options there, but we will see. Now we will get back to talking about the Rangers, though. So Kakko has Rangers Twitter in a meltdown right now because people are still wondering where a contract is, and then Tyler Mott still hasn't signed either. So in terms of what I could say on that, I'm wondering if the Rangers have something going on right now. Something smells funny with this to me.
We have something, potentially that could happen with, a deal that includes Kakko. That's probably why they didn't re-sign him yet. I mean, Kane. What?
I'm saying, please don't be Kane.
I don't know.
I don't want to be Huberdeau either. I was just joking around there. I don't think that they should get guys with 1 year left if they're going to trade Kakko. You guys know my opinion there, and I still think a trade could be in the works there.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be, because had he not re-signed your former second overall pick, immediately, like, there's got to be something going on. I mean, I understand Kakko hasn't, been what we thought, or, really improved a lot necessarily. I understand that, but he still has potential. He's your second overall pick. You kind of have to try to make things work with him, or else it's going to look really bad, that draft pick, even though it's not like you had a choice, because at the time it was whoever jersey didn't take, you take the other, whether it was Hughes or Kakko. But yeah, I mean, if you're not re-signing your former second overall pick, then yeah, there's got to be something going on. Maybe we could get some established, players in this league that in return for Kakko and maybe a couple other pieces. Personally, I wouldn't want Patrick Kane because, like we discussed with Nico on our past episode, I think it might have been like episode 2. with his age and how he would fit into this team, just for Kane to stay for like a couple of years. And then like I understand he had a really good season with Chicago, but like you just can't, like, you just never know with like athletes in general, because Kane could easily get hurt. If we got Kane, he could easily get hurt, come back, and then not be the same again. That's just like, you have to play at all scenarios, and you just don't know what could happen. He could, or nothing could easily happen. He just hits a certain point in his career, with, I don't know how old is Kane, like 34?
Yeah, I think so. I could
Like
check that.
he could be, I don't know when his birthday is, but he could just come in and not be the same just because his body is just,
33, turning 34 in November.
So I mean, it's Patrick Kane, yeah, but he's not Alex Ovechkin, like, at the same time. Like I just personally wouldn't.
This reeks though of a trade brewing to me. I don't know what it is. Like, is it JT Miller? Is it? I don't know.
I'd be pretty cool
who.
if it was Miller.
I wouldn't. I do not want Miller back.
Why not?
One, I don't like the whole getting back with your ex thing. Two, it's the same scenario. I'm not trading Kakko for a guy who has 1 year left on his deal, and you're not going to be able to re-sign him. So I don't think that makes sense, but that's why the Rangers would do it then, right? So I mean, don't know.
We've done it, right? We've done it with a couple players getting back with, re-signing a guy.
But when has it worked? Outside of Dominic Moore, who's a fourth liner.
Yeah, Dominic Moore.
When has it worked?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Didn't we re-sign someone that was a former Ranger? Stephen Kampfer, right? He was a former.
Yeah.
Michael Haley. Michael Haley, two-time rate. Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Haley was a legend on the fourth line. Great complimentary piece to Lias Anderson
Who
in
else?
The 2019-2020 year.
I think there's one more player. I'm pretty sure there's one more player. I can't name off the top of my head. Fuck. Whatever.
I just don't like that idea. And again, trading Kakko, who for a guy who has 1 year left, I don't like that idea. The trade has to make sense to me, and I don't know what the trade could be. No clue. Vancouver's over the cap though, so the dots are kind of connecting there for me, and I hate it.
How old is JT Miller?
He's 30 years old, I'm pretty sure.
30? It's not bad.
Yeah, he's 30.
Get like a solid like 4 years out of him.
But are we going to get 3-4 years? How are they re-signing him?
Yeah, I don't know.
I would be much more in favor of.
It doesn't make Connor Garland there. I mean, it doesn't make. At the same time, Miller's a great player, but it doesn't make sense to get him because now thinking about it, because we have to re-sign guys like Keandre Miller
and Lafreniere, which is why Brooks decided to just completely ruin everyone's offseason and talk about how next year we're going to have to trade one of Gaudreau or Lindgren. But yeah, thanks, Brooksy. As always, glad you blocked me on Twitter.
I would probably just trade Barclay Gaudreau though, right?
Yeah. If you have to pick between one of them, I think that
Lindgren or Gaudreau, to me, it's a no-brainer. Gaudreau, he has to be the guy that goes. There's no question.
Yeah,
Lindy is the future as well.
We're some of the bigger Barclay Gaudreau fans that you'll meet. It's just that for a guy that's playing in your bottom six at $3.6 million versus a guy that's on your top pair defense at just $3 million. Yeah, sign me up for the guy that's on your top pair and making $3 million all day versus a bottom six, $3.6 million guy.
But Lou Lamoriello would probably trade away Lindgren and keep Barclay Gaudreau, kind of like what he did with Devontae's. Freaking idiot.
We saw how that worked out. And if the Rangers do something like that,
I don't know.
I don't know what I'll say to Chris Drury at that point, but that would be a problem.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's gonna be weird. The more that's quiet, the more I think that something's brewing because this is just odd to me. I wonder because for a while I was wondering if they had a deal already in place with Kako and Bot, and they were trying to figure out a way to clear cap space. But at this point, if you don't figure out your way to clear cap space, it's just trading Ryan Reeves. I don't know what you're doing here because it seems pretty obvious to me.
Yeah. Whatever it is, just gotta trust Chris Drury. I don't know. I mean, he's done a great job so far, and I trust him. Whatever it is, I trust him, and until he makes a bad deal, and I don't.
Until he trades Ryan Lindgren for 2 second-round picks,
right? So I trust him till I don't. Yeah. Something like that.
I know we got flamed last episode for saying that we want to trade Reeves, so
I did see that. Yeah, I did see that. I mean, at the same time, yes, I get he's the guy that controls the scrums but like, let's be real. Even though he does that, it only happens when he's on the ice. What's his ice time? Like 10 minutes? Not even.
Most nights less than 10. I could tell you that. I could check the exact
number. Let me ask you something. Like, yeah, he's a guy that controls like things that goes on the ice, but like if he's not barely on the ice, what good is he? At the same time, or like how much how much I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Also, like not killing penalties for you like Tyler Mata. So
what did that guy say? He's like policing like the scrums or whatever.
Policing the ice, which
how could he be getting under? You're not going to get a lot of Reeves policing the ice if he's playing under 10 minutes. So what's the point of paying a guy over $1 million to barely do his job? Not that he doesn't do it, he does it, but like doesn't get the ice time. So it's not like
his average time on ice. I'm trying to find it, but I guess I have to go to Hockey Reference.
But at the same time, you also have the kids. Like, listen, bringing in Reeves is a good idea just to show an example of how you have to control certain situations. But there's got to be a time where the whole team has to just stop being, and step up and be like, just be bigger than yours. If you're a smaller guy, act like you're 6'5". If you're like Lafreniere, he's like 6'1". If he's going up against Tom Wilson, who's like at least 6'3", right? Then act like you're 6'3". Like, just kind of do what Sean Avery did. The man's under 6 foot, but he acted like he was 7 foot.
That's a great point. And also, Ryan Reeves isn't going to be doing this thing forever. So
yeah, like
he's going to have to learn at some point.
Yeah, 100%. You gotta just go balls out and just grow a pair eventually. I mean, it's good for now because some of the kids are inexperienced. They kind of just have to learn from someone who's been there, done that. But there's just got to be a time where you don't need that person. You just kind of have to have the team kind of help you out a little bit in a way, just like everyone just stepping up and, so you don't need a wasted spot like, Ryan Reeves to, be on your team. Instead, you could just fill that role with someone else that's probably a bit more skilled than Reeves because he honestly is just slow. He just runs around, just hits people and directs traffic, on the ice. So
and he just is slow and he averaged
just
over 10 minutes a night.
Yeah,
and keep in mind that the only time he was doing that is every single season he was playing under Gallant. So Gallant sure loves Revo.
And honestly, though, I don't know if it's the Reeves that didn't want to fight. I mean, I'm sure he would love to fight, but I mean, he didn't fight much, during the season. It's, we didn't get a lot of I don't know. He didn't instigate much, like Sean Avery, I just felt like he was just like he gave no Fs and just started beef with everyone. I mean, I would be more than happy to pay a guy like Sean Avery 1.5 or whatever. You know what I mean? To have him on my team, be more than happy to do something like that. But he's no Sean Avery for sure. But we didn't see much of what we thought we would get. Like we got
Reeves, yeah. We had
we
three
got
memorable fights.
Yeah, like comparing to Avery, who gets in a fight every game, even like before the puck drops, like in warm-ups, like Manwood is already arguing with the other team and having some problem, which is hilarious. But if you really want to get in the other team's head, but I don't think that's what Ryan Reeves wants to do. He's just a guy that's just going to control the traffic, but or police the ice, as that guy said. But realistically, Ryan Reeves, like he's just not gonna be here. Like whether it's by this deadline or I know for sure after this season that's coming up, he's not gonna be here.
I say he's gone by the deadline for sure.
It's either by this deadline or the offseason.
So
yeah, 100%. But but again, back to what I was saying, the team eventually, the kids have to eventually grow a pair and really step up and defend their own teammates, instead of just relying on one guy to do all the work,
Yeah. And we got two more things that we will talk about. One's a quick one before we talk about the final thing, which is going to be fun to talk about. Just wanted to say it's the 10-year anniversary of the Rick Nash trade and the 1-year anniversary of the Pavel Buchnevich deal. So Rangers Twitter is not happy at all with the Buchnevich trade still. So
I'm not happy with the Rick Nash deal still.
Yeah.
I'm not happy at all.
I'm happy with what we got when we traded Rick Nash. I'll say that. But
okay, but we basically just fucked me. Excuse my language, but we fucked up our team that had so much promise heading into next season just to trade a couple key pieces for a guy that really didn't do his job. He had concussion problems. Glenn Sader fucking should have known that. And he didn't fucking score. He didn't score goals. He had 140 goal season. That was it. He didn't do his goals. He didn't score. He didn't score his goals. He didn't really do what we wanted him, or he didn't do what we expect him to do. And honestly,
and you lost all
kind of
effed your depth.
Yeah. And then we eventually had to trade a key piece also in Marian Gaborik just to make up for that depth. Now your poster boy or your main guy is now Rick Nash over Marian Gaborik. Bro, you could have just easily built off of that 2012 squad, made it better. Like, we could have easily won the cup with that squad. Could have made it better, put us over the top, still have Gaborik, you know what I mean? And it just, things could have easily worked out. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand. And it's just crazy, though, because now thinking about it, even in 2014, like I said, Rick Nash didn't really do his, job in scoring a lot goals, you know what I mean? Or just doing what we expect him to do. We didn't really have that go-to guy, that main guy that we, relied on big situations. I guess you could say Marty St. Louis, but, he's just, I don't know, before it was it was just Gaborik, to get the big goal, and then I don't know. It's just Rick Nash was supposed to be that guy as well. He didn't do his job really, and then he just kind of became a role player, and then we just never had that go-to guy. I mean, unless if you want to count the 15th season where he had the 40 goals, sure, but he disappeared in the playoffs. He just wasn't there. Just, again, a role player. And that was it. That was the career of Rick Nash, to be honest with you.
Yep, and we somehow got, in return, Lindgren and the pick that became Keandre Miller. So,
I mean, I guess everything happens for a reason, but still.
This is also crazy that I'm looking at this now. So, we're talking about how it's the 10-year anniversary of the Nash deal and the 1-year anniversary of the Booch deal. Well, you guys are seeing this a day later, so the time we're recording it is, but I didn't realize that the third round pick that the Rangers got in that Rick Nash deal is the pick that became Buchnevich.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the world we live in. So,
again, everything happens for a reason, but I'd still not. It's funny though because during the 2012 season, when every time they played Columbus, and at the Garden, when they played Columbus at the Garden, especially I was at one of those games, they did "We don't need you" chants, and they were right, and in reality they were right. We never really needed Rick Nash, especially considering who we gave up. I would have been down. I would have been totally down with running it back with Anisimov and Dubinsky, and then building off of them. And then
that we were about to give up less for Steven Stamkos than
we gave
up for Rick Nash. That's what I want to know.
Yeah, facts. No, but even still though, and then worst case, we still fired Tortorella. You never know what happens with the same squad we had with Torts in 12. See what happens with Alain Vigneault with that team. You never know. But I don't know. It's just a bunch of what ifs. I mean, who do we get in that deal? When we traded Gabrick away, got Brassard, Dorset, John Moore. So Dorset
trade package.
Dorset was just the fourth liner that got scratched every now and then. Brassard was our,
Hey, don't forget John Moore.
Yeah, I said John Moore. Yeah. Brassard during 2014 was our middle six guy. He either, in the playoffs, he played third line with Pouliot and Zook. But then you had Richards on the second line, then Stepan on the first line, or they would flip-flop from first to second. And then 2015, I think Brassard in the playoffs really emerged as our number one center. But that was it really. And then John Moore just played, with us in the 13-14 playoffs as well, and got traded in a package, I believe, with Duclair for Keith Yandel in 2015, and that was it.
Well, it goes back to what you said, where everything happens for a reason, because we got Brassard in that deal and ended up becoming Zibanejad. So if this leads to a cup,
listen, if there's a reason we didn't win a cup, and every trade that we made has connected to now, that would be nuts. That would be crazy to think about. Just think about some of the great teams we've had, but we couldn't get it done. But we made some deals that connected like that.
To this team, there is a lot.
To this team right now. For this team to win a Stanley Cup, that would be crazy to think about. That would be crazy.
Yeah, but in my world, Derek Stepan was how we got Phil Peedle, because I like to just say we drafted Heedle 7th overall to make myself feel better.
I don't know, man. If anything, we should be winning a cup in the next few years. In this time area, this time period that we're in right now with Gallant, and Kreider as our leader and all that, we should be winning a cup very soon.
This year we're gonna get a better idea, because we're gonna get an idea of who Lafreniere, Kakko, and Kravtsov really are. That's what I need. I need an answer of who these guys are already, because I'm tired of waiting around. And if they could just be, I said it last year, I'll say it again this year, if they could be 50-point guys at least, then your chances are very good that you could go on a deep run. We saw them step up in the playoffs, and look where it helped us and look where it led us.
No, I agree, definitely. But it's just crazy to think, like I said, just that everything connects to now. So I don't know. Hopefully this is the time where, we could get over that hump, but we'll see.
Kind of the opposite of where we weren't getting over the hump. David Quinn lands a job with the San Jose Sharks. All I gotta say is, San Jose fans, good luck. Good luck.
Get ready for some copycat league action.
Get ready for William Eklund playing bottom 6 minutes. Get ready for Luke Cunnin playing in the top 6. Nick Bonino, I think, will get some top 6 minutes this year.
First line minutes, probably.
Yeah, Steven Lorentz will get some top 6 minutes. Jeffrey Veal as well. Definitely will get some minutes there. Yeah, good luck. If this guy did not learn a single thing from what he did wrong here in New York, which, given by what he said on certain podcasts, he sounds kind of arrogant with what he says.
Oh, he definitely is arrogant. There's no question. I mean,
considering he makes bold claims like he was part of the reason, if not the sole reason, Adam Fox won the Norris.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, be an arrogant asshole if you want. Because you weren't the reason. You weren't the reason that Mika Zibanejad became the way that he did. He was already on that trajectory before you walked through the door.
And Panarin was Panarin to begin with.
Yeah.
And then Kreider all of a sudden gotten better with once Quinn left. So
not a coincidence.
Yeah. I mean, Quinn is very arrogant. Yeah. I mean, I met him. I mean, he didn't seem like arrogant. So I guess low-key arrogant is probably the right term.
Low-key arrogant.
Low-key, especially when you say you're kind of part of the reason why Fox won the Norris. I mean, he was like basically saying like he was kind of confused why he was fired. And he apparently asked the front office, like, or I don't know if it was jury or not, probably was, why, like, what's the, something along the lines of like, a reason to why he got fired or whatever, but he's like, yeah, exactly. Like, and apparently they said like something like they didn't have an answer. Apparently, I don't know if that was the exact question. I have to look back in the podcast, but and then he goes on to say they had no answer, and Fox in my last year won the Norris. I had Brett Panarin, about to hit like 100 points or a career high. Same with Zibanejad. And then, he goes on to say like Buchnevich got better or whatever. Like honestly, like you shouldn't be saying that stuff. Like whether it's true or not, you shouldn't, like, you just sound very salty and you just can't admit that your team couldn't meet expectations when you were the coach. And all of a sudden they get a new coach and do a lot better. But, yeah, he's arrogant, low key.
I want to know what happened behind closed doors, because it seemed like I said in my video that this guy could not get the locker room under control at all either.
Yeah.
How many times would the players come out looking depressed? Pavel Buchnevich would score some sick goals for us in that 2021 season. He looked like he just came back from a funeral. The players did not look interested in playing. You had the whole incident with DeAngelo and Georgiev. There was clearly no control with David Quinn in that locker room.
Yeah, another thing on DeAngelo, if you go on the Cam and Strick podcast, he recently went on it and spoke about his time in New York and the incident, what happened. But one of the points I wanted to point out in what he said that he didn't meet, speaking about Dave Quinn, he said he was a great guy. They got along personally, but when it came to hockey, they didn't see eye to eye. So they obviously disagreed on a few things when it came to hockey. And that just kind of shows, especially like out of any guy like Tony DeAngelo, like you would think like he would have been, I don't know, okay with, whatever a coach had to say. But no, especially with all the things that went on with other teammates in the past and all. But no, he, just didn't apparently agree with his decision making and whatnot. And he kind of goes in depth in talking about that. If you want to go check out the podcast, you'll kind of understand what I'm talking about. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. Just to give an example that they didn't, a guy like DeAngelo, they didn't see eye to eye when it came to hockey. Just so I'm sure he's not the only one that had some problem like that with Quinn. And even rumors with Zibanejad, not getting along with Quinn, but
Panarin too.
yeah, but Quinn still said on the podcast, I'm pretty sure, or it might have been in the press conference. I forgot. I just saw it somewhere that the relationship between him and Zibanejad was apparently great. So I don't know what that means exactly, but I mean, if you want to take it literally, it's great. But I highly doubt it actually was great.
And I'll say it again: fast, physical, relentless. Just he never went back on those words.
I mean, he did in the beginning of his tenure here, like in the beginning of
Barely.
the 18-19 season for like the first month and a half or something like that. And then I think not even like the first month and a half, like honestly, probably, I'd give him a little bit more, maybe 2 months, but it started to go away after we traded some key pieces like, Matt Zuccarello. I mean, we needed sell anyways, but like it started to go away, especially and it just vanished, that play style.
After 2 months, woohoo!
Yeah,
good job.
Right after you
Just
trade
as many months as
Zucker.
Brett Howden was good here for.
Yeah,
Woohoo.
After you trade Zook and eventually Kevin Hayes and all that. So yeah, I mean we were actually decent. Like when he first came, we were like kind of good. Like I just remember like we just got a lot of high scoring opportunity chances and just being inexperienced, we didn't come through on them. So it just obviously didn't matter. But yeah, for that fast, physical, relentless only held true for like a couple of months, and he just completely changed the way. And I know
And just nonstop kept doing it.
Yeah, it completely changed the way how he wanted his team to play. And another thing I did not like is the fact that and I think that's part of the reason why the team started to change the way they played, was the fact that he kind of just relied on his veteran assistant coach and Lindy Ruff. Like instead of him taking control as he should as the head coach, he most likely was listening more to Lindy Ruff than himself. And that's probably why the team kind of changed their play style a little bit. So at that point, Lindy Ruff was the head coach. And then, of course, it's actually no surprise that, all of a sudden the team starts to play a little bit more conservative.
When Jacques Martin walks through the door.
And if you know anything about Jacques Martin and, his Montreal Canadiens, they were by no means an offensive, or just a high, tempo team. They were they were defensive. They play defense first mentality. So it's no surprise that they've all of a sudden became, conservative in that regard. And that's just honestly another example of Quinn most likely just leaning on his veteran assistants instead of just listening to himself and keeping that fast, physical, relentless play style true. And, obviously he didn't. And the rest is history. Gets, that season happens and gets fired.
Yep, and by the guy that pushed for him to get hired, nonetheless, too. But that's going to be really it. I mean, unless you have anything else, I don't have anything else to talk about, but...
I don't know. I want to, if you're listening still, thank you. I was talking to Evan about this. We should definitely, do some other videos, like different videos, like ranking, with the tier list, ranking the best Ranger teams and, maybe last decade. Like, I think we discussed this on the last episode a little bit towards the end. We're thinking about doing something like that. So, I don't know. We'll have to think about it. It's up to you, Evan.
Yeah, which we'll definitely do.
Just to push out more content, for you guys.
Yeah, 100%. And also, once the offseason dries up completely, you're going to get a lot more content like that because obviously we're going to be bored out of our minds and we're not going to have anything to talk about. So we might as well just try to push out as much content as we could with what we could do best, because in reality, it's going to be difficult when it's around August and those dry months and the beginning of September. We'll have the World Juniors to talk about, but that's really about it. Outside of that, not much. So, and even then, not really much probably to talk about with the World Juniors either way. We could keep track of the Rangers prospects. That's really about it there. But yeah, we'll definitely be bringing content like that. But in terms of this episode, that's going to be it probably for us. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening or watching wherever you're on. Be sure to leave a like, review, rating, all of that stuff. Remember, Manscaped, TikTok link in the description if you want to check them out. And yeah, that's going to be it for us. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Let's go Rangers.